Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. I know it's been a really long time, but we're a couple days away from the biggest game of the year, Super Bowl 58, the game we've been waiting for. Niners Chiefs. It's been 2 weeks in the making. We've been circling it on our calendars, obviously. Some people, me personally, not. I'm not a fan of either of the team, but we're gonna have to take somebody here. And it's definitely gonna be an interesting game. Obviously, so many storylines. Obviously, whether it's the conspiracy theories. I even saw a prop out there that Las Vegas could get invaded by aliens and the game ended in a tie. There's some sharp money on that. I saw a UFO in the sky, I think, the other day. There is some sharp money on that. So sprinkle a little bit on that. But there are some silly props like that. There are some good old props that we'll be taking. But first, we're going to get into our sides here, what we like in the biggest game of the season, obviously. First, with my best bet, and I did this. This is a little parlay that is plus 100, but I also did these as just straight bets. First, I'm taking the Chiefs plus 2. I love them at minus 110. I think the Chiefs should be minus 2 in this thing. I think the line should have been Chiefs minus 1 or minus 1.5. But I think they're just giving it to the fact that the Niners obviously, had the easier route to the champion, to the Super Bowl. I would say you look at the route, for these two teams, right? And the Niners, very, very considerably easy route. Playing a Packers team that was, already lucky to be in that spot because they were the youngest team. They kind of snuck into the playoffs because the Seahawks, they won, but obviously the Packers had the tiebreaker, and then they go in and beat Dallas, and then Dallas and playoff prosperity, those two don't get along, and so that's why the Niners were pretty much, we have to play the Packers. We always beat this team in the playoffs. So and then you're in your NFC Championship game, you have to play the Lions, and in both of those games, the Lions and Packers exposed the Niners. I mean, we saw it. I mean, the Niners were down to the Lions pretty much throughout the first half, and it took a miraculous second half comeback for the Niners to actually be in that game. And you look at the Packers game and how close that was. I mean, Jordan Love was competing with Brock Purdy and those guys, and I think when you have Mahomes as a dog, right, and you see Mahomes as an underdog, I think it's just free money at that point. I mean, we've seen Mahomes in this. This was the same spot last year. We saw the Eagles versus the Chiefs. We saw Mahomes as an underdog, slight underdog, pretty much throughout the entire 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. And what happened? It was a great Super Bowl finish. The Chiefs getting the win. I've seen so many conspiracy theories about both sides, but in the end, if this is the biggest game of the year, people, I want you to Ari, I want you to do this for me. I want you to close your eyes for me. Just close your eyes, right? And I want you to think, in the biggest game of the NFL season, what quarter? Wait, but besides everything else here, no quarter running backs, no, none of that. When it comes down to it, the two quarterbacks on the field, which quarterback are you taking in the biggest game? Are you taking Brock Purdy or are you taking Patrick Mahomes?
I'm
You have
taking
to
Patrick Mahomes.
exactly, and that's why I'm taking the Chiefs money line. I just think you take the better quarterback. There are so many great system plays on this as well. You talk about Chiefs as an underdog. We talk about when the Super Bowl team who has to go on 2 road wins. We talk about beating the Bills and the Ravens, back-to-back road wins for the Chiefs. The Niners had the easy coast of beating the whole NFC North, for God's sakes. And then I just think I'm taking the better quarterback. I'm backing Patrick Mahomes. And, for all those, save us, Brock Purdy. Save us, Brock Purdy. I'm a sit you right here. If Lamar Jackson couldn't save y'all, Brock Purdy ain't saving y'all. It's going to be the Chiefs. It's already written. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are going to have their miracle moment. I already have a prop on Taylor Swift over 5.5 times shown. Okay, that there is some sharp money on that. She is going to be shown on TV a lot. Okay, the those are some silly props we're gonna get into later. But I'm just taking the Chiefs +2 and Chiefs on the money line. I think I'm taking the better quarterback in the biggest game when the brights when the shot when, excuse me when the lights shine bright the most. I'm taking the better quarterback, and honestly, I may be taking the better defensive coach. I mean, we talk about Steve Spagnuolo and how in this bright spot we saw how we did, in this same game 4 years ago against almost the same team, some of the same players. Obviously, no Christian McCaffrey the last time Spagnuolo played the Niners in the Super Bowl, but they still have George Kittle, they still have Deebo Samuel. They still have a pretty much pocket passer, pretty similar to Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. In terms of how they pretty much ascended. You just look at that, and it's almost a mirror image of how that game is, and you have to lean the Chiefs. So I'm going to take the Chiefs money line and the Chiefs +2. Ari, I'll stop yapping about how Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are going to celebrate on Sunday. What are you taking in the biggest game, last game of the NFL season? Who you got?
Yeah, I'm on the Chiefs as well. Obviously, like you said, the better quarterback. The line opened up. I think it was Niners -1.5, or no, it was -2, I believe. And then you saw the public, go heavy on the Chiefs to start, and it went back down to 1.5. Now it's back down. Now it's back up to -2 Niners on most books. Obviously, some books have -2.5, some have -1.5, but on average, it's -2. And I think at this point, it's going to stay there at the 2-point spread. But yeah. Bottom line, there's always a lot of storylines on both sides of the ball. Niners offensive weapons. Purdy making it here after he got hurt. Last year in the NFC Championship. Chiefs. Not knowing if they can win on the road after being at home all these years in the playoffs and then getting it done on the road. And again, like you said, these two teams meeting again. They met. It was what I think he said 4 years ago when it was the Super Bowl. Obviously, not the exact same teams, but the same kind of the same nucleus for the most part, other than McCaffrey. And yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be back and forth. Some of my props we'll get into later, reflect that. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think it's going to be a relatively high-scoring game. I'm not going to play the over, but I do lean the over. I think it's going to be like a 27, 24, 28, 24 type of game. So yeah, I'm going Kansas City as well. Better quarterback. Maybe not. You can argue maybe the Niners are the better overall team, but I think like you said in the big game, I'm taking the better quarterback. As a slight underdog, and that's with the Chiefs here.
Exactly. You couldn't have said it any better. I just said it like I said. I'm taking the better quarterback in this spot, and it's Patrick Mahomes. And I'm sorry for all these. Oh, save us, Brock Purdy. Yeah, that's not happening. I'm back in the Chiefs here. As you mentioned, this is just, taking the better quarterback. In terms of the total, I was leaning the over as well, but I didn't even know this. But a fun fact for all of you people targeting the total, the over under in I think the last 57 Super Bowl, 57 is 28, 28 and 1, meaning that there is no edge, meaning that there is no great ROI, meaning that you are pretty much going into the Super Bowl blind in terms of a total. So if it's really sharp right now, I would just avoid the total. That's why we're just on taking a side here. I'm taking the Chiefs +2 and the Chiefs money on the money line. Those were two separate plays for me. I took Arias well, taking the Chiefs on the money line. But we wanted to do just a little bit of a parlay kind of to wrap up the season with y'all. Just a little bit of our favorite props to kind of do this parlay. Ari, if you want to pull up DraftKings real quick, we can do this pie by side just to see how juiced this will be. But these are some of my player props that I'm going to be placing on on Sunday. Some of them in my personal parlay that I
we'll just each go over our props and then we'll do that after.
Yeah, of course. But first, I'm going to talk about Mahomes. I'm taking him over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think that's around -160. That's a parlay piece for me right there. I mean, 1.5 is a great number for me. I mean, yes, there's a danger of Isaiah Pacheco, but I think in the biggest spot, and you talk about how the Niners, secondary has kind of been the weaker spot in terms of their defense, and their pass defense has been, kind of the thing to target. We saw in that Lions game, even with, big games for, David Montgomery, it was a big game for Monroe St. Brown as well in the secondary. We saw, big games for Laporta as well. So I'm going to target Mahomes just to get 2 passing touchdowns in the biggest game in this bright spot. I mean, probably one's going to go to Mr. Travis Kelsey, and with him holding his hard hands and whatever. But I also like Rashee Rice as well. Maybe a passing touchdown to Pacheco, so maybe that'll catch Pacheco anytime to his touchdown, as well as Mahomes passing touchdown. So I just like Mahomes to get 2 passing touchdowns. I think that's going to be a great spot here. So I'm taking that. And then George Kittle, I got his line at 3.5. I don't know if I'm taking his line at 4.5, but I am targeting Kittle receptions here. I'm just doing 4+ for alternate play for my parlay, but I am targeting George Kittle receptions on Sunday. I think this is a great spot. I think there was a video that got leaked, or not leaked. There was a video that went out right after the Niners came back and beat the Lions about how George Kittle was, I think, saying something about, it was right after the Niners lost to the Chiefs back in 2020, 4 years ago. And he was talking about how he was going to be back in this spot facing the same team. And lo and behold, 4 years later, it's a revenge spot. And then I just like George Kittle, the safety blanket for Brock Purdy. That's kind of going to be over the middle, playing not only obviously great blocking offense, but obviously, being the safety blanket he is in this spot. And I think with a pass rush that's going to be in his face, the Chiefs known for one of the best pass rushes. And I think that, Purdy's just going to dump it down to either Kittle or obviously McCaffrey if the pass rush is right in his face. But if he has some time with the pass blocking, I think he's going to find Kittle. So I like Kittle. I'm just targeting his receptions, but right now, since his receptions is already at over 4.5, I do like his yards as well. I think it's around 45 or 47. So right now, I would target his receiving yards over receptions right now, but I do like receptions as well. I just think this is going to be George Kittle revenge game. So I'm targeting him over 3.5 receptions that I got it at, or 4+. But I also like his receiving yards as well. And then a little bit of an interesting prop. I know it's kind of weird, but understand me here. It's going to be the shortest touchdown scored. I'm taking that under 1.5 yards. I think it's around -135 on DraftKings. That pretty much is saying it has to be a 1-yard rushing touchdown. And I think there's going to be a 1-yard rushing touchdown. There's always been a 1-yard rushing touchdown. We saw it last year with Jalen Hurts. There's going to be one this year. It's either going to be McCaffrey or Pacheco at the goal line. Someone's just going to run it in. I'm just backing the fact that there's going to be a 1-yard running score. So that's kind of the interesting prop that I have. And then the last one you see it's the parlay piece, people. We know he's going to be scoring on Sunday. This is his first Super Bowl. Let's just get it out of the way. McCaffrey anytime touchdown. He's scoring. Okay? He is going to be in the end zone. Okay? Let's just get it out of the way. We know he's going to score. Throw it in your parlays, people. I mean, you can even put, I even like it in the first half potentially. I saw that at +135. So if you want to sprinkle that, I think still on DraftKings, McCaffrey to score in the anytime touchdown first half only. I think it's +135. So if you want to maybe throw a little juice on it instead of just taking the full game or throwing that McCaffrey anytime touchdown in your parlays, I think that's just a perfect one. I think he's gonna probably score early, maybe on the opening drive. That's how the Niners usually like to get things going. McCaffrey getting himself loose in the open field, or just McCaffrey pretty much kind of being the workhorse on the opening drive. That's kind of how the Niners like to get down the field. And I think that's going to result in a McCaffrey touchdown potentially on the first couple drives. So you might as well just throw it in there. So those are my 4 favorite props that I'm targeting for Sunday. Ari, I'll stop blabbering. What are your props that you are targeting on the Super Bowl?
Yeah, so a few of the ones I looked at so far. First one, Debo over 78.5 rushing plus receiving. This is about even money, -110, -115. Debo's been relatively quiet so far in the playoffs. He had like 89 yards last game receiving. So a pretty big game, but still, like, for his standards, he's yet to have a huge blow up game. And even though I'm on the Chiefs, I still think that Debo is going to be involved everywhere in this game. I'm taking rushing receiving because I think that I think it can be either rushing or receiving where he breaks up a big play. So instead of like trying to predict, which type of play he breaks off, I think it's going to be, I'm just taking rushing and receiving together just to have, so I don't have to predict which one it's going to be. So I'm going Debo over 78.5 rushing plus receiving. Second prop is Chiefs over 10.5 points in the first half. I got that at +100. Chiefs generally get off to a stronger start in the first half, scoring wise, than they do in the second half. So at plus 100, I'll take 2 touchdowns or a touchdown, 2 field goals in the first half. Something along those lines for them. The third play is a little bit more cheeky. Neither team to score 3 straight times. I got no at plus 130. You look at these teams in the playoffs so far. The Chiefs did against the Dolphins earlier, and then the Niners did in the second half against the Lions. 2 weeks ago. Like I said before, I think this is going to be a really back and forth game where it's kind of go toe to toe. All game back and forth. So I think there's not going to be much of a chance for them either team to score 3 straight times. So I think at plus 130 is good value for that, for another team to score 3 straight times unanswered. And the fourth play is just kind of this. It goes along with backing the Chiefs ML is Mahomes over passing yards. He's only hit it 1 of 3 playoff games so far. He hit it against Miami. He did not hit it against Buffalo or Baltimore, but I see the game being higher scoring than it was against Baltimore. And, the weather won't be, a concern like it was against Buffalo in that game. I think if the Chiefs are going to win this one, I think Pacheco will do his thing. He'll do well, I think. But I'm more confident in backing Mahomes through the air against, the Niners secondary that has been vulnerable at times this season. We saw the first half against the Lions 2 weeks ago. It was the combination of the run and the pass, but, it's like Amon Ra was saying whatever he wanted for the most part early in that game. And now we have, Mahomes. So I think we'll be able to do it all game, not just the first half like the Lions, 2 weeks ago. Those are 4 props I'm looking at for the Super Bowl.
We already talked about it a little bit earlier. Deebo Samuel, I like him as well. This is obviously another revenge spot, as I mentioned. Deebo Samuel, one of the few members from that 2019-2020 team that went to the Super Bowl. From the offensive skill players, I should mention, and a little bit of a personal, animosity in there. That also adds a little bit of personal animosity. So first, just gonna take a look at my little bit of parlay here, plus 600. These are our 4 favorite combined plays that we just wanted to combine and take here. First, we're taking Patrick Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. That was my play that I mentioned earlier. Ari and I kind of both talked about it. We're both on Patrick Mahomes over, so it kind of goes hand in hand. Patrick Mahomes, if he's gonna be the MVP All-Star that we all know him that he can be, in this spot, he's going to have to throw the ball, and against the Niners secondary that has, been, pretty vulnerable at times. And we talked about it, last week, 2 weeks ago when the Lions, opened up a pretty big first half lead. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we saw him have some big plays, Sam Laporta as well. I think Mahomes, even with, not as great many skill players as the Lions, obviously, even with having the blanket of Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice has, been a lot more of an emergence as of recent. So maybe that's a anytime TD play out there for some people out there who want to target that. But I think Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think that's a great look right there at minus 160. So that's a parlay piece. And then I mentioned George Kittle receptions over 3.5, and look at that. It's on 3.5 right there. I think that's a great parlay piece as well. I think George Kittle is going to have a great game. I think he has 4+ receptions. This is the revenge spot I was talking about. George Kittle, one of the few offensive skill players from that team, that was the emergence of George Kittle. We all saw that 2019-2020 season where, I think that was his rookie year out of Iowa. We kind of saw him burst onto the scene and be, the dominant, fantasy tight end that we all kind of saw him to be. But then, he became more of a blocking tight end. But, in this spot, obviously in the biggest game, I think, with the Chiefs pass rush, potentially getting to Brock Purdy, I think he's going to go to his safety blanket, and that is George Kittle over the middle or whatever. I think, or even just dialing up downfield. I think he targets George Kittle a lot in this game. Just, the reliable guy on this offensive team who remembers some of the key players, on that Chiefs defense who were still there from that 2020 team. Not many, but just a few. But I do like George Kittle over 3.5 receptions. And then we're taking Ari's 2 plays here, just targeting Deebo Samuel.
I'll just say, because they didn't allow me to do rushing and receiving for Deebo. So
first of all, screwed DraftKings for that. They should have let you do that. But first off, we're gonna get into Ari's two plays. We're gonna taking Debo Samuel over 58.5 receiving yards. I know Ari liked his rushing and receiving. He's gonna get into why he's taking his receiving yards, and then we already talked about Mahomes over 260 passing yards. Ari, I'll stop yapping. To complete the parlay, why are you taking those two?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I prefer rushing and receiving, but they wouldn't let me take it for the purpose of this. So between the two, rushing and receiving, I lean towards receiving at 58.5. I think, he's the type of player that, he can bounce off defenders. It takes just one big play, 50, 60-yard, reception, catch and run. So I'm going with that. And then, we talked about Mahomes, backing Mahomes, being on the Chiefs. So we're going with two Mahomes props here, and then one each for the Niners. So a pretty balanced, kind of long shot here, where no matter what the script is, kind of, it could go in our favor for this.
Yeah, exactly. We're just targeting some guys, to have some big games in the biggest spot, and we're targeting four guys who have played not only in the first meeting between these two, but now in the second meeting between these two in the Super Bowl. So we're just targeting those four guys, obviously plus 600. Just throwing a little bit of cash on it, just to see how much we can make off of that. That was going to be our combined little parlay that we finished the NFL season on. But that is going to do it for this episode of AKP Sports Talk. Obviously, that is Ari. I'm Korea. Once again, all of these plays will be posted on our Twitter momentarily. I will have our full card for Super Bowl Sunday once again posted. That is including all of our props and our parlay that will be posted on our Twitter, AKP Sports Talk. Obviously, we do have some college basketball tomorrow. I know. We got to wait 2 days for the Super Bowl, but tomorrow we do have some college basketball. I will be posting my full card later tonight. Obviously, we do have some Sunday, but I mean today there's only 3 games, so it's a very small slate. So I'm gonna take the day off, enjoy myself, and relax. But for this episode, we're gonna do it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. That is Ari. I'm Korea. We will see you guys on Monday for our full NFL season recap. And I guess getting ready for MLB. Ari, it's crazy, right around the corner. At pitchers and catchers reporting soon. Here we go. We have some MLB futures potentially dial it up for you. Who knows? But we're going to be back on Monday for the next episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys on Monday.